All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. You're just in time for that conversation that we're talking about, the state of MSMEs. Let me introduce my guest real quick, beginning from my right, Honorable David Osian, Chief Administrative Secretary, Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. Thank you for making time.
Thank you.
On my left is Dr. Joy Kiru, Senior Economics Lecturer at the University of Nairobi. Thank you for making time. And Samuel Karanja, the CEO for MSME Alliance. And Sam, I'll start with you. What really is hurting the MSME sector? Because we seem to be shooting in the dark here. Nobody seems to just have a concrete lineup of what is hurting the MSME issues and what are the solutions. From where you stand and the traders you've been dealing with, what really is the central worry, so to speak?
Thank you, Trevor, for having me this morning. Well, I want to go to the basics. I think we must redefine who SMEs are, because if we don't redefine who SMEs are, we can't have solutions of SME, tailor-made solutions. And many times the government has given us an identity that we are not. Because what they have done, they have given us an identity with the World Bank standards. And they have likened us with SMEs in Australia, SMEs in Japan. Let's come down to the basics. SMEs in Kenya, who are they? They are mama mbogas, they are boda people who are making 200 shillings on a daily basis. So when it comes even to taxation and to indigenous ways of coming up with solutions, it has to be narrowed down to the basics and see where we are coming in and see who is an SME. And the problem facing SMEs are many, but some of the problems is taxation. Most of small medium entrepreneurs have not been put in the taxation bracket. So when the government talks about broadening the tax base, most of the SMEs are not there. And what is happening now, the government is increasing VAT on some basic commodities so that they can be able to harness money from small medium entrepreneurs and actually affecting them directly. Let's say, for example, what was shut down the other day, taxing of bodas, which is a livelihood that has come up, and tailor-made way of employment which came up a few years ago, which is employing over 1.2 million young families. So when you're looking at that, the government has not been able to do that. Secondly, dissemination of information. There are policies which govern small medium entrepreneurs and opportunities which are out there for SMEs which have not been able to be brought down to the basics. And I think we said that in a show here earlier, that we have a kizungu mingi when it comes to policy and breaking down of that information to the basics. We must know where we are in terms of literacy of small medium entrepreneurs. These are people who left school in standard 8. These are people who left school when they did their O-levels. They have not been able to go to higher learning institutions. So when you're looking at that, even the literacy of the language of business of small medium entrepreneurs, the government has not been able to harness that and come down and make sure that whatever is being cooked in the boardroom should be disseminated, broken down to the basics, so that the policy, when they are making the policies, they can also be able to interrogate it. Lastly, in connection with that point, public participation. When these policies are being made, who do they consult? Do they consult those SMEs down there? Because they know where the shoe is hurting. So if you, for example, you want to bring reformation in the boda sector, you want to bring reformation in the market sector, Uko Marikiti and other markets, are you asking the mama mbogas down there? Are you asking the boda people there? Are you asking people from Nyamakema and Kirinyaga Road what they think are their solutions? Because we have solutions as small medium entrepreneurs, and those solutions, once you table them with the government and we complement each other's strength, that synergy will be able to bring that transformation we want.
Okay. Dr. Kiru, what are we getting wrong when it comes to the MSME and the sector, really?
Thank you so much. Actually, I agree with everything that you have said. And I want to emphasize that when it comes to the SME sector, yeah, there are some interventions that the government has done to revive SMEs. But the government, like the credit guarantee scheme, which I've really taken a lot of interest in, is supposed to help the ease of business, but only for the former growth-oriented, those that can access bank loans. And those are not the majority of the SMEs. Those are just the few ones. Yeah. And I've been interested in this policy, and I've tried to interrogate it. And what does it mean for the majority of these small-scale sectors? What is a policymaker thinking about them? Are they really ignoring them? And one of the reasons one of the answers I got was that there's a theory they are using. They're saying that once you deal with the growth-oriented sectors, there's going to be trickle-down effects in that banks will have capital to rent more to these risk these SMEs which are perceived as risky. And my question is it happening? Where is the data? Is it happening? Where is somebody collecting that data? Because we cannot say that we are benefiting all SMEs by using a theory. Is it working? So my point is we need deliberate efforts to reach down to Mama Mboga, Mama Mayai. Yeah. Because when it comes to investments which really drive economies, it is two-way. There's a demand and there's a supply. Now, if you address the supply side only, and if you only address it for the growth-oriented, the unique ones, it is Mama Mboga, it is Mama Mayai who drive the demand side. The economies which employ about over 90% of our employment, especially during COVID, is in the informal sector. The Mama Mboga, Mama Mayai, Mama Boda Boda, and it's not hard to reach these people because all these people have got their own circles, have got their own chamas, and these chamas are registered somewhere with the Ministry of Social Services. So there's really a way to find solutions that trickle down and address not only the growth-oriented SMEs, but also the ones which really employ the bulk of our people.
Yeah.
So that we need to address it from the demand and the supply side at the same time.
Okay. And Honorable Sian, I've seen you take a lot of trips around with the MSMEs and talk to them down there. What are you seeing as the gap, and what are the intervention measures that are being put in place?
Thank you, Trevor. So foremost, allow me, before I delve into that, to pass my special condolences to the family of my good brother and friend, Edward Mbugwa, the Deputy Inspector General, who lost his beloved daughter in a grisly circumstance. And the daughter will be laid to rest today. I wish them comfort and peace, and may they repose in the Lord for that. That said, I am delighted to have this conversation. It's good to be back. My brother points out, as well as Dr. they point out very important things around the micro, small, and medium enterprises. Foremost, I would like to tell my brother that one of the things we're doing in the next month or two is to launch the official SME policy for the country, which has been great work by the SME advisory unit to the President's office, as well as the Ministry of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development. And of course, when he says, do we really consult at the bottom? I can guarantee you, as Trevor alludes, the reason I spend a lot of time with MSMEs is to try and get perspective, to add their voice to the policy-making process, because they are the most in that space. When we understand that that's what happens, I think I'm the first probably assistant minister to host my mechanics in my office, not for show, but to listen to perspective. What is it that ails you in your sector? As a person sitting in Gikomba, what is it that you think the government needs to address a bit differently? Yeah. That perspective is part of the policy-making process, and there's been wide consultation to that effect. And so as we get ready to launch it, we are also improving on it. There has been the academics like Dr. Kiyoru adding their voices to it. There has been the people at the bottom adding their voice to it, because this is what ails them. However, I don't want us to risk understanding what MSMEs are. I know that this, of course, the greatest representation is at the bottom. So Mama Mboga, your shoe shiner, your mechanic, your mtumba seller. But you need to understand that this is micro, small, medium enterprises. They're all covered up in one group, which we will seek to break down in that policy, so that we understand what micro means. That yes, there is the Mama Mboga and Mayai, which we dearly love because they are the most. They run this economy. That's micro. And then we graduate to small. And then we graduate to medium, so that medium understand what is in it for them. Now, Dr. has alluded to something very important. The credit guarantee scheme, which is a brilliant idea, and for which the president set aside 3 billion shillings as seed capital. And she says, her study reveals that we are a bit focused on the growth-oriented micro, small, and medium enterprises. But we need to agree here that formality is the pathway to wealth creation. I don't want us to keep telling our MSMEs that it is okay for them not to formalize. We need to let them understand that we also don't want you to keep making 5,000 shillings a month. We want you to grow to the next level. If you're a micro, we would love you to grow to small and love you to grow to medium. And that is going to be a bit hard to achieve until we formalize. Last month, we had a launch of our study on formality in the MSME sector. And I can guarantee you that I have particularly taken passion in formality in that sector. It's going to be hard to achieve, but we are going to try our best to achieve it. Why? Recently, when I visited the Juakali sector in Kisumu, Trevor, I found this gentleman who makes those trailer baskets for the cane tractors. Yeah. Now, the guy has no account. The guy has no registered company. Yet, for every trailer basket he makes, it costs about 3 million shillings. So you want to tell me this guy, one, cannot access even an overdraft. Yet he has that amount of money trickling in every other time. Now, when we do not have formality, the net effect is that these people are going to be taken advantage of by other sectors. So I don't think formality is an entirely bad thing. And we need to promote our people. It's one of the things we do at the Kenya Institute of Business Training, KIBIT. Yeah. We want them to learn, register a company, own processes, learn your bookkeeping, because by formalizing, you're setting yourself up for extreme success. Yeah. If that does not happen, and we keep saying that we want the MSMEs, to be considered without formalizing, then there's a problem. Of course, there would be need for a different perspective, focusing on those that are still formalizing. Do they miss out just because they haven't formalized yet? I think that's not fair either. And that should be looked into. And I am willing to have extreme discussions with my sister, so that she tells us what is her thought about how to deal with the MSMEs that are not formalized, noting that we have precedents of a horrible credit culture in Kenya. Yeah. The Youth Enterprise Fund, the Women Enterprise Fund are existing examples of what becomes of engagement without formality.
Okay. And Karanja, what is the biggest challenge with formality? I see Dr. being 100%.
Yes.
What is the biggest challenge when it comes to formalization?
Well, and I support what Waziri is saying. But let me say this, government has never been able to achieve formalization. One, when you tell an SME to go to Waziri's office to register through MCEA, they're not going to come there. Mm. And that is why we have to have what we call strategic partners. Strategic partners are people who, in the private sector, MSME Alliance of Kenya has over 21 associations which are under 2.1 million individuals who are members. So when you look at the strength of formalized entities, then you come together with those formalized entities. Because when you talk about formalization, it is a solution, and it is the solution. And I'll tell you why. When you look at Boda guys, the other day the president brought them together. You remember he launched even one of their products. I think it was a SACCO. These are 600,000 people who came together of the 1.2 million Boda guys. When they came together, they told the president they have a turnover of 1,000 shillings on average. That means that they have 600 million on a daily basis transacting in that sector. But that sector is not taxed. That sector is just out there. So formalizing, making sure that you are targeting these people not basically to collect taxes, but for capacity building. Mm. Making sure that you're putting them from point A to point B, they can see the advantage of formalizing. And let me tell you, Trevor and Waziri and Dr. There's a system down there, an economic system down there, that the government doesn't even know. And the reason why we are even exposing it is because we want to help our country. There are many people who are not banked. Yeah. So many small, medium entrepreneurs. Why are they not banked? That money is not going through the system. Because when that money goes through the system, it's like you're exposing yourself to high levels of taxation that you cannot even be able to cope with in terms of even in your business. Yeah. The other day when you knew about, when the government came to realize about the boda in terms of the money they make and also the importation, they wanted to tax the boda unless the MPs shut down that thing. They were taxing actually spare parts of the border. So the government is a culprit of what is happening now, and is a suspect of, if, for example, we decide to come and formalize, they are coming after our money, they are coming after our businesses. The government should have what we call a human face. A human face in the sense, like what Waziri has said, he's going down to watu wa Nyamakema. He's going down to the mechanics down there. What is your problem? How can we be able to improve that? So if we decide to formalize, get these organized groups, they may not even, they are registered as chamas, they are registered as CBOs, they are welfare, even they are registered as welfare, but they decided, can we have our own economic ecosystem down there? Mimi natoa 2,000, na unatoa shilingi 500. Let us have one pool. Let us pillow bank this money. Wewe ukitaka 5,000 shillings ya kuanza biashara yako, I'm going to give you the 5,000 shillings. But I'm not going to go to the bank because the bank cannot accommodate me. So there is an innovative way of survival down there. So this formalization, if the government can have that human face and people come out without fear of victimization, that like for example, what Waziri is saying, that guy who is making 3 million shilling, if he is exposed to taxation, he's going to go bankrupt, because they are going to go back to when he started business. Then they start taxing him from that point he started business to this time. Is he going to afford that money? No.
So you'd rather stay out of this?
You'd rather stay out of this system.
Dr. Kiru, you can see your studies even going further, this formal growth-oriented situation. Should the government then consider bringing in these people who are on the lower cadre through institutions like the MSME Alliance, for example, so that we know that your border people who are your members are 1.2 million, therefore this is how much you need to remit in taxes, and this is what we can also give you to support them without that direct interface with the people? Because this is happening even in formal employment. I mean, taxes are remitted right from here. I don't have to go to KRA. Good,
thank you. Now, let me take this from another perspective and maybe recap from where the Honorable CAS stopped. Do you think anybody enjoys working in literally hot sun to make 5,000 shillings with a family of 6 to feed? Nobody enjoys that. Do you think anybody enjoys waking up as early as 4 o'clock to stand up in the cold and in the sun, hoping that somebody will come and ride their boda for 50, 30, 20 shillings with a family of 7? Nobody likes that. So this is a sign of a failed economy to create the jobs that people need. Should we tell them, shauri yako, or what do we do? Should we tell them you're not formal, you are not entitled? Then why don't we then look at it like we are providing social security, social safety net to these people in terms of work fast, like we've done with the kazi kwa vijana, kazi mtaani, that is, you are vulnerable, you are unemployed, you need money, yes, work fast. We will give you something to sustain you. Why don't we extend the same argument to these people, while at the same time trying to create public trust? You've had the conspiracy theory. These guys just want to net me so that I give them money. It shows that an operation whereby the public has got no trust with the policymaker. And if you try to enforce policies, no matter how good they are, a formalization policy whereby there is no public trust, it's not going to go far. So as you give social safety net or social security to these people who are really working hard and deserve to be supported as in a safety net, then why don't you then try to build public trust by creating information, sensitization, and being honest and telling people what really is in this formalization for you. But public trust is important in the first, because there is all these conspiracy theories. KRA, they are greedy. In fact, they want to come and harass me so that I give them bribe at the back doors. All these things have to be demystified. There has to be public trust, honesty, and the government has to be perceived as working for the good of all traders. Until we are there, you will sing formalization. Nobody will listen to you.
I think, Trev, first, I'm grateful that Dr. Kiru now agrees that formalization is our pathway to wealth creation.
Yeah.
But now that we have that agreement, we have also raised very pertinent issues around creating trust.
Yeah.
appreciate attempts by various outfits, including the MSME Alliance, to try and help us towards this journey of formalization. But that does not mean that government cannot achieve formalization. In recent months, the government has rolled out Biashara centers. Biashara centers are one-stop shops for businesses, for SMEs and the large businesses alike. Now, because of the inconveniences that have been there that preceded our time, we have attempted to create these centers where, if today you owned a business and you wanted to be assisted, you would walk into the Biashara Center. If you are doing products, you will find the KIRDI, Kenya Industrial Research Development Institute, which will tell you, okay, we are able to help you research further on this product. You will find the Kenya Bureau of Standards, which is another of our parastatal. You will find the Kenya Industrial Property Institute, KIPI, which does the patents. You will find the Kenya Industrial Estates, KIE, which supports with funding of up to 20 million shillings, loans, on 10% interest rate on reducing balance. That is then given to some of these organizations. You will find Micro and Small Enterprise Authority, which is our purpose vehicle for attempting to formalize. But we decided to have them housed all together under one roof. So we have one in Nairobi in Kariobangi, we have another in Eldoret at the KEBS office, we have another in Mombasa, and we have another in Kisumu at the KIRDI office on Kibos Road. What we are attempting to do, and we hope to roll them out across the 47 counties once we have studied the uptake of this information. It is an attempt by the ministry to get closer to people and explain its mandate. Of course, there will be challenges in that, challenges that are not unique to the government. There are challenges that will be encountered by private outfits that are also helping the government to try and achieve this formalization, and I laud that. Now, taxation is one of the issues that has been raised, and I think I need to state that the government may not be perfect in implementing its tax policy and in drafting them. There are times when we rely on the legislature also to do its mandate, because some of the things that government then adopts are products of the same legislature. There are gaps that we are trying to look at. I have personally been a great proponent of, for example, having tax bands, which will ensure that the taxation is graduated for the different sectors. But I also don't want to throw the baby with the bathwater. Okay, when you say that we are horribly taxed, then I think we need to go to countries that admire Kenya's taxation policy. Now, are we there yet? Definitely not yet. Are there challenges in that space? Obviously, yes. Dr. Kiru says very eloquently, and I agree with her, that none of us may enjoy wanting to sit up under the sun. But I don't want us to continue with the same mindset that then makes our graduates feel that they are cut out to be in AC funds and turning on AC and seated in the office and not seeking out there. The growth of countries like India and China have entirely been because of the cottage industry. We are attempting to expand this space. The micro, small, and medium enterprises predominantly occupy the cottage industry space. We want to encourage our young people to look at this positively. Now, as government, ours is to then attempt to facilitate them, to make it easier for them in that space, understanding that maybe they would have loved to be in other spaces, but because of the unemployment problem, which again is not unique to Kenya. Yeah. The unemployment crisis is a crisis of the world superpower, America, as it is a crisis for the smallest country in the world. And so, because of this, we are innovating how to absorb our workforce into the MSME sector and facilitate the ease of doing business within that sector through the various parastatals and agencies that are under the ministry.
And Karanja, is this part of what you were saying, the information flow? Because the Biashara centers that Waziri is talking about, some of them are very good ideas, including 10% loans, but I'm hearing some of them for the first time.
Yes, they are the good ideas on paper, and I hope and I pray, because Waziri just came the other day, he's going to implement these things. Let me tell you.
No, they have been existing before me.
Yes, in
So
terms
there may
of
be an information
in terms of
gap, but-
implementation.
Yeah, yeah.
In terms of implementation, because yeah, some of them actually even before you were born.
Yeah.
Now, when you look at KEBS, you look at Kirdi as Mheshimiwa is saying.
Yeah.
These are government entities which hold a lot of information, a lot of help to small medium entrepreneurs. But let me say this: we find that many government officials, they sit in the office with the AC, but they don't come uko mashinani. And let me say this: this information is not disseminated from the boardrooms. It's on paper, on a very sincere note. The other day, from where I sit as a CEO of MSME Alliance of Kenya, one of the largest, institutions that we are having, I just came to know about the mandate of Kirdi the other day, not because I don't research, but they are there on paper. And you find that they have a lot of help to small medium entrepreneurs. When you're talking about cottage industry, if you go to Kirdi, you're going to get a lot of information on how you're going to move your, let's say, avocado business, value addition of your milk, all those things from point A to point B to point C. But that information is not disseminated to small medium entrepreneurs. And that is why the government has a big task. And this is the thing, and I'm going to repeat this again. Strategic partners are the way to go. Because with a strategic partner, the government cannot be able to absorb everything. They have to bring people strategically to be able to execute their mandate.
Yeah.
When you look at Kenya Bureau of Standard, some of these government agencies, they have lost hope. Okay, traders have lost hope with Kenya Bureau of Standards. Why? Because the standardization marks or the standardization policies have not been disseminated. And the other day we had even meetings with the MD, and we said, this booklet you are telling me to buy of 2,000 shillings to get this information, why can't you make it free of charge? Why don't you gazette even some of these standards? You remember some time back, there are some things which were banned because they didn't meet the standards which was supposedly set, but the traders didn't know. When a person comes from Ushago uko, Kisumu, uko Muranga, uko Kirinyaga, wherever they have come from, they sell one cow at 150,000 shillings. They come to Nyamakima, they get Karanja. Karanja assists them to go and get what you call consolidated cargo from China, from Dubai, from any other place, from any other source, Scandinavian countries, whichever way you're going to get. When they come to the port of Mombasa, they pass through the port of Mombasa. When they come, for example, to ICD, zinashikwa, zinaambiwa, these things are counterfeit or they don't meet the standards. Did that person know the standard of the wires, the standard of the product that they brought in, the marimari things that they buy, the vipondosi? Do they know even those standards? They don't. So they are left there. They're 100,000, 50,000 shillings.
Yeah.
Those things are burnt. Now, when you look at these policies in a nutshell, and these government agencies which are there, like even KIA, they give 10%. When we are now post-COVID, that's what we pray for. But what policies, the KIA, they are giving 10%. Did they come out to small, medium entrepreneurs and tell them, look here guys, look here traders, we have 2 billion shillings as KIA. Can you please come? Because 10% is less than what banks are giving us. So when you look at that information, is hidden to the few. And the rationale behind that information not being disseminated to small, medium entrepreneurs, it beats the sense of why even some of those things are even existing.
Yeah.
I think before Dr. speaks, I need to say, I mean, the government maybe stands guilty because of this information, but I think it's not the government's burden entirely. We must create a society that's hungry for information. So that I've been on TV, on Citizen TV. I've spoken about some of these things we do. I've been to radio stations across. I have been to the ground. I remember when Samia Suluhu was here, the president said, I didn't appoint you guys to sit in office. I appointed you to go out there, find out from the people on the ground, listen to them, come back and assist them, which is what we have attempted to do. There have been, of course, challenges around, communication in various government outfits, which is what some of us, I now head the communication efforts for the ministry, because I understand that gap. But as I do that, I have posted severally on my platforms personally, because I have a cumulative few followers, maybe 100,000 in all platforms. Every time I am anywhere where I think there's information that would benefit our SMEs and our friends, I've posted it out there. Now, when it is posted, you end up realizing the people who take advantage of it are very few. KEPSA in the other day, and which points out to, again, using structured formula, and I'm coming to that. KEPSA the other day was training SMEs on managing themselves within the COVID period and trying to sell their goods, digitally. How do you move your stuff? I put that out there. I'm glad 10 people came and said, I actually applied and I got trained and it was very helpful. Majority of others were asking, why are you posting this? Can you work without posting it? We also have a culture problem. And so, yes, there is a need for that, but as Dr. Kiiru will tell us, part of the COVID crisis has been the knock-off effect, the macroeconomic, knock-off effect. So you have revenue problems, those variables, the revenue problems, foreign exchange. And with revenue problems then comes a crisis that all countries are facing because of COVID. So you're grappling with, what do we do? Because information dissemination is costly. KEBS puts up every day of the week, I think on Thursday, about what they do, who needs help. How many people go there to get it? Again, we must be a society that also hungers for information enough. But yes, formalization is a thing that the ministry champions. And I congratulate you for helping us in that journey. It's the reason we have the Kenya Association of Manufacturers. It's the reason we have the Kenya Private Sector Alliance. It's the reason we have the Kenya National Chamber of Commerce. Because in working with those structured outfits, you gain more from members of those structured outfits. It's much easier to coordinate them, and which is what we are attempting with the registrar of SMEs, without necessarily killing all these others.
All right. Dr. Kiiru, is it a cultural problem? Because ignorance is no defense, really. If this information is out there, then if you don't know about it, why would you blame someone?
On a lighter note, thank you for reminding me that I really have a bureaucrat in the room. Because you are really talking like one.
Yeah.
If you cannot eat bread, please eat cake. And you're forgetting.
No. Dr. Kiiru, you're being naughty.
Let me tell you where I'm coming from.
Yes.
I've just started with that so that I get your attention and hear what I'm going to say next.
Okay.
That is why we have just talked about the people who are driving the consumption, the demand side of this economy, and how their lives are.
Yeah.
5,000 in the hot sun, 4 a.m. to 6, we have a family of 6. These people are so busy. So I'm telling them, KNBS, KBS, what? They're like, what was that? I posted information on the internet. They have no time for that. They have no time to look into this. They have no time. I mean, they don't know what this is. What they know is that I'm up in the morning at 4 a.m., I'm back. Their phones are very simple. It's for looking at M-Pesa, picking calls, sending text messages. Their phones are busy working for them at their level.
I think we really underestimate Kenyans. No, just a minute. I think we really underestimate Kenyans. Because Kenya is the country that has 91% connectivity. Telephone.
Connectivity, yes.
Telephones.
Internet.
Out of which 63% are internet enabled. Let us not, listen. I have been to the ground.
They are part of that.
Daktari, I think we need to agree.
One at a time.
And I think we need to also agree
One at a time,
that these people listen to radio.
Yeah, they do.
All right? And you also need to agree that when I come to Radio Citizen to engage them, sometimes I have to pay if I really want to buy enough space of time across 10 days to talk to them about something. So 40 minutes is not going to be enough, Daktari. Okay. I want us to climb down to reality. Let's climb down from ideal to what is real. And if that is a risk of being bureaucratic, I gladly take it. Because this is the reality, that dealing with them, information dissemination is not cheap, whether we go on radio or on internet. And I tell you, for a fact, I have been in the SME sector at the very bottom. You tell me the guy at Nyamakima who wants to import does not have a phone that has internet? Or that is now not MSME? Or you tell me that the mechanics I met in Kisumu's Juakali sector do not have internet? And they must not, of course, get it from me. I mean, I have very few followers. I'm only saying that's my little attempt at information dissemination. However, it is a very costly affair. And the media house here, Trevor, may confirm that as true. And I am grateful for the opportunity like this to be able to speak to Kenyans and tell them what is there. But if I wanted this opportunity for 10 days straight, I'll pay for it.
Dr. Kiru, how would you suggest that this information reaches the people? What options are there? Fine, they're busy, but they need that information also. Karanja's just said that the 10% is even much less than what banks offer, but they had no idea it exists. How do they get that information?
Thank you. I started my comment with a lighter comment, but I had a more serious comment.
Yes.
I had a more serious comment. And this is about when he says that the cottage industry it's what is driving big economies, which I agree with. And it's encouraging our youth not to just think that they've been trained to wear ties and sit in air conditions, which I also agree with. And if I take this information to my students, they will tell me that, look, Mwalimu, I am happy to start small. I am happy to build it brick by brick, sweat and blood. But where is the breaking point from these 5,000 vicious cycle of poverty that I'll begin with? How do I break free? What are the pathways? And that is where you need to come in.
Sure.
And you've just pointed something and you say that information dissemination is not cheap, and I agree with you. That is where there's something called PPPs, that is public-private partnerships.
Great.
You don't have to do it alone as government.
Fantastic.
These same young people, they are well enabled to have information booths right to where you want them to be, telling their colleagues who are sweating blood, tears and blood every time working hard in the hot sun that, look, there is a break, there's a pathway, this is what you want to do, this is what you need to do. And then you bring out all these nice things you posted and bring them even to those that may not have phones. Because when you say that people have phones, we don't have numbers. My profession is a profession that thrives in numbers. When we say that it is true, they listen to radio, they do what? Yes, the radio will be talking as I cut Skuma Wiki for my customers and things like that. But am I listening? Am I paying attention? Am I getting all the important information? So these are people who are busy, and their phones are busy working for them. They have no time for that. But
actually, whose fault is that? If the information is out there and you're not listening, whose fault is it?
Look.
I actually would
blame
pose.
a victim.
I actually pose. I'd actually pose to Daktari.
Don't blame the victim.
No. I'd actually
Yes.
pose to you. If I had you as my consultant, what is the solution?
You need to be innovative as a government. You are a
Like
government
do
of the
what?
poor and the rich.
Yeah.
Like do
Have the
what?
All
solution.
these people are yours. PPPs is the way
Yeah.
to go.
But you said that they're not listening. So
They're
even if you
PPPs.
partner and
What
they're
I-
trying to disseminate this information,
What I mean is,
how would you get this information
Get
to
these
them
young
if they're
people
not
who are
listening?
part of this, who know the conditions of their people, who know what it is that they need to take to their people, which can benefit them and make them break free from this vicious cycle, a pathway to whatever. Let them disseminate that information with support from government. Let them have local information booths.
So we simplify this information,
Simplify
which
the
is what
information
Biashara centers.
and let it trickle down
Yeah.
by partnering with the same young people who are not employed. And you'll kill two birds with one stone. First, you'll create a synergy to lift up more people from this vicious cycle of poverty, if I may say that. And we'll also create employment for some of these youths who are innovative enough to set up themselves in the name of selling information. And with time, you never know. These things will grow into information centers way beyond informing about businesses, but also to other things.
Okay. Karanja, you're saying you have the solution?
Yes.
Yes.
There's something Daktari has said.
Yeah.
You see, and this is what Waziri is saying here, strategy.
Yeah.
What did the government do when COVID came, when COVID hit the country? Awareness. How was that awareness done? After every commercial, you are told to wash your hands, wear a face mask, do ABCD, do ABCD. That awareness was simplified to a point whereby I even saw a tailor-made approach towards small kids, 2-year-olds, 3-year-olds, 4-year-olds. When you say SME, small medium entrepreneurs, micro and small medium entrepreneurs, they are drivers of the economy. Are you truly serious in what you are saying? If, for example, we want to resuscitate this economy, we have to go to MSME, then what are you supposed to do as a government? You are supposed to simplify, because that's your livelihood. That's your lifeline. So if SMEs go down, the country's economy goes down. So you have to have a disruptive way of coming up with innovative ways and strategy of making sure that this information is disseminated down there.
Yeah.
And I think that's where the government should invest more.
Yeah.
When you're looking at, I was just looking at the demographics here. The UN demographics are saying we have about 9.5 million young people.
Yeah.
Public domain, 9.5 million young people. These young people, because of COVID disrupted the way business is done. And so people are online right now.
Yeah.
They are selling things online, as Waziri is saying. The government then comes and taxes, puts in excise duty on phones,
yeah.
excise duty on internet, and airtime. And this is where now we are gravitating towards, because now having, you know, that's a placement in marketing.
Yeah.
One of the pieces of marketing, that placement, that's where we are at right now. Because now I don't need now to go to the Juakali. So when you're looking at that, what strategy is the government using? Breaking down to the simplest forms. When you, for example, you want information disseminated, let's say even, for example, when you are doing the BBI and the rest, there was some paperwork which was done and given to the show down there. Kiswahili. Lastly, the government should know the language of business.
Yeah.
And the language of business is not Kizungu Mingi. The language of business is break it down to the guy Waziri went to see, the mechanic guy.
Yeah.
Kiswahili. Go to vernacular language based stations. Tell them, ukitaka hii pesa, utapata pesa na 10% kwa KI. KI wanafanya 1, 2, 3. Aka commercial of 1, 2, 3 minutes in vernacular, in Luo, in Kikuyu, in Kikamba, in Kimasai, because we all have those platforms if you want to help small medium enterprises.
But it is expensive. Isn't this where people
That's
like
it.
you also
And that's why
come
we
in
are saying
with
you are
the
coming in,
alliance?
and
Because
we are
you
coming
have
in.
your members.
Yes.
Why don't you take that information from the upper cadre, now speak to them?
Now let me tell you what we have done as SME. We actually, in a month, we are going to invite you, Waziri. We are launching what we call a toll-free call station, a call-free consult center. We as SME, we have partnered with people. We are investing over $1 million. That's 100 million. Why are we doing that? We are doing that because now we can't wait, can't sit back and say the government is going to give us information, as Waziri is challenging us. Why don't we have public-private partnership?
Yeah.
But who does the buck stop with? Let's talk the truth. Who does the buck stop with? So we have to make sure, as we are coming in as public-private partners, also the government, we are seeing an effort towards that and facilitating even us, because I'm saying, when we are giving a budget of 3.6 trillion shillings, how much is that budget for dissemination of that information? So as SME Alliance of Kenya, we are playing our part. The 2.1 million traders we are telling you, we have even placed a platform, a SACCO platform, and we have strategically positioned ourselves with our one-tier bank. We are giving them 5 times, 6 times, 7 times your savings. Why? We want to resuscitate the small medium. That's something that we are doing. We want to resuscitate the SMEs. As we are doing the resuscitation, we also want to see an effort from the government side. So we as strategic partners, what we are saying is this. Why? Because we have we have KEPSA, we have KEM, we have KNCCI. That information should go through, and we have MSME Alliance of Kenya, plus many other. That information should go down to small medium entrepreneurs. And let me say this lastly. Waziri said about cottage industries. Let's be real. What is the cost of production in Kenya? The cost of power. That's something that we have yelled to the top of our voices. We have said it is easier for you to produce in South Africa, set base in South Africa, set base in Ethiopia, produce your merchandise and bring it back to Kenya and sell it at a cheaper rate than producing it in Lodwar or producing it in Muranga and selling it in the same market.
And that's a strange.
No, I think, Trevor, I agree. Let's start with the power cost. I mean, the Public Investment Committee in Parliament is doing an elaborate investigation on some of the drivers of the high costs of power. And we hope that that can be addressed.
Yeah.
Of course, I started by saying that government does its best, but government can't be perfect.
Yeah.
And which is why I posed to Dr. Kiiru, what would you do if you're on the seat? And you can tell it's very hard to get an answer to what would be done differently. And the reason is there are multi-factors that affect the movement of some of these things. I understand when Karanja says that Sio Kizungu Mingi, I wish that this show was in Kiswahili because I have a great prowess in that and I break it down the best way in that language as well. Yeah. But because this is a Kizungu show, we will have to say Kizungu Mingi. But then we attempt to break it down to our people, to let them understand. If Chris Kirubi were alive today, he would tell you that HACO, the first loan that set it on its path was Kenya Industrial Estates loan. Spectra International. The Industrial Development Bank, which gives loans up to 200 million Kenya shillings, or $2 million, which now we enjoy a credit line with India for our manufacturers who would like to bring in their equipment from India. They can do that through the Industrial Development Bank credit line, which is the mother of groups like Serena. Their first seed capital came from Industrial Development Bank. And true, I understand the frustration with the information not being out there. And this is the gap we're trying to bridge. But I also said that there are multi-factors. You know, you get stuck with what do we do with so not much? We alluded to how COVID was dealt with. And COVID was addressed well. Adverts were running every day because the media houses, realizing that this thing could even kill the greatest talent in the country, gave free airtime.
So they also are
for COVID. So they need also to take their share of the blame. But I understand. I mean, Citizen TV has dedicated time, business segment,
yes,
which tries to address that. And again, I know you are not up to doing that only when there is so much people craving for dog bites man out here. Okay, so those are challenges that we know exist. I wish that we could say we are going to address everything today. Yes, the structured ways of engagement, and I will implore and encourage that, and also request the existing, infrastructures of engagement, like Kenya National Chamber of Commerce, KAM, to strengthen their SME portfolio as well, but also for organizations like the MSME Alliance who are trying to help us in this battle of formalization. Now, let me say, Daktari, I am the hugest proponent for growing our people into the middle income segment. I know it is not the desire of everyone. I am a huge proponent for decent, dignified jobs. I tell you without a doubt. And as I say, even cottage industry, it is growing gradually. If you start at Border Border, I would love to see someone graduate from Border Border, as we have several stories, owning his matatu, owning several other Border Borders, growing in that sense. Formalization again comes to mind. It's a pathway for growth. And so it's not to promote people to say, we are happy when you sit in the sun. No. We are happy when you innovatively make something as an engineer who has graduated from the School of Mechanical Engineering, who goes and gets his lathe machines and can innovate something brilliant in the cottage industry sector, as opposed to sitting and getting frustrated as to why he has not been absorbed by a numerical machining complex or by another government entity, which is something I would love us to encourage right from our young people, right from campus. And one would say, no, David would say that because he is in a tie, in an SE office, and he's an assistant minister, all right? But I tell you, I have been in this sector. I don't think I envy the frustration of our young people who have graduated at all levels, tertiary levels, university and college levels, and lie there jobless. And these jobs have to be created even for those who are, post-primary, who don't have post-primary education. But ours as a ministry then is to facilitate. Can KIE be able to assist you with a loan if you meet the requirements so that you push forward? Yes. Is KIRDI able to help you to understand that the product you're working on meets the standard of KEBS and then push you over to KEBS for standardization. That's what we do. If you have your product, is Keproba, Kenya, branding and promotion agency, able to assist you to identify the right market for your product? That's what we attempt to do, because in so doing, we will lift from the lowest, get them to the middle, and as huge the middle income segment as we can create will be the strength of this country economically.
All right, I have to take a quick break on that note and then come back with a lot of your feedback that's coming through as we wind up on this conversation right after the break. You can keep them coming at Trevor Mbija, at Citizen TV Kenya, #Daybreak. There are quite a number of them. We'll try and sneak most of them in right after the break. All right, thank you for staying with Daybreak. Let's see what you're saying online. There's a lot of feedback. Let's sneak some of them in here. Ochieng Ogwang says, can you please ask CAS what happened to the MSEA beneficiaries from Kisumu who had received their grants in the past 3 weeks but have instead been taken through chains of next week promises amid having rented houses ready to start the business? Cass?
Yeah, well, there has been a problem with disbursement of funds for Kenya Youth Opportunities. It was called the Mbele na Biz project and the Grant 5 cycle. Yeah. These are monies that the Micro Small Enterprise Authority gives to young people, 20, 40,000, to try and ramp up their businesses. However, part of what is needed is just to try and instill that, again, the good credit culture. So there have been requirements that some of them had not met, thereby affecting many others, but which are now being streamlined. I can't give an exact date because now I haven't consulted the CEO of MSEA, yeah. But I promise to take that up when I leave the show.
Okay.
Yeah.
Let's see what else you're saying. Here on Twitter, Trevor Mbija at Citizen TV Kenya, #Daybreak. Deshmo says the government is the one killing MSMEs. Expensive power, double taxation. We only need cheaper power and a conducive business environment. Also, we cannot have everyone starting a business. Dr. Kiru, that is actually one of the issues that I wanted you to talk about, this issue of taxation. Are we then killing, there's a law of demand and supply. If you increase taxes on certain things like borders or even certain things like bread, I'll just take cake. And we then shooting ourselves in the foot. It is counterproductive when you increase taxes on things that people want. They'll just go for an alternative, and then you won't even have the tax anyway, right?
Yes, taxation is a big issue, and if you think of where the government is coming from, because you have to understand why are these things happening before you think about how do we address them. The government is cash strapped. Last time I said broke, so no, we are not broke. I just this is transient. This is temporary. So the government is cash strapped.
Yeah.
And they are thinking that the best way they can raise money, the cheapest, the easiest way is to just tax, because it's a low-lying fruit. Tax. It's a strategy. But this strategy is self-defeating, because at the end of the day, it's like you are milking the cow and it may drop and die and you may stop getting the milk anymore. Yeah. So the point is, can the government think of other ways of raising revenue other than just focusing on taxation, because it has a limit. It's a limit within which you can do this without hurting yourself, depressing yourself, because when the people are no longer able to produce any more because they're being taxed and overtaxed, double taxation and things like that, then it will not work. So that is the role of government, to find other ways of raising money, and not even raising money, managing government deficits. Because I believe when it comes to government deficits, not about more money, it's about managing what we have, knowing where we spend, how we spend, and what are the benefits of that. That is putting money where it matters most, and having structures that ensure accountability, transparency, and that seal leakages. And this taxation issue will cease to be a problem, because government will be able to manage its budget deficits. That says, yes, I agree with him. Yes, everyone is starting a business because really it's not like they're starting businesses, they're just trying to survive. These are survival tactics because everybody's in a tight spot. That's why I'm talking about the economy being able to create jobs, so that only those who want to be in businesses can go there, start humble, and there are clear pathways to break out and from formalization to, from informal to formalization. And that is why we are trying to agree that really there's need for data and for a study. Well, we say studies, Kenyans don't like hearing studies, but they say like there's need for data to tell us what really works to break the vicious cycle in these small businesses, and to help people move from informal into formality. What does it take? What do we need? Yes.
Karanja, from the people you deal with in the MSME sector, and KRA has been talking about widening the tax base forever. Not all of them are trying to evade the taxes. But how can this be made so simple for them to pay up? What do they want? What are they suggesting? Because they know that they have the money, they haven't refused to pay the taxes, and I know the iTax system is something else. But what do they suggest for them to be brought into the tax bracket? How do they want this to be done?
We support paying tax because it's the responsibility of every citizen to do that. However, as we are saying that, the taxation process is very complicated, and we tell KRA, and actually you're having a meeting tomorrow. We have been invited concerning the same. Can we be able to simplify the process? Because Mama Mboga wants to pay taxes. They want to pay 50 shillings on a daily basis. Can they come with a USSD code, whereby even if I have a kabambe, not a smartphone, I can be able to give my dues to the government? Now, as I pay, what is in return for me? Number one, it should be a conducive environment. Let me even just break it to the simplest forms. When you look at Boda people, they were chased left, right, and center in Nairobi and other cities. Formalizing them and giving them designated areas of operation, so that you can be able to have an organized way of collection of data and collection of taxes. If, for example, I have a USSD code and my ID becomes my ID becomes my serial number, serializing it, my ID becomes my serial number at KRA, and I'm paying 50 shillings or 100 shillings on a daily basis, and I have a conducive environment of doing business, that means I have a designated area of operation whereby kanjo haitakuja kunisumbua. I can be able to pay taxes, simplifying the process. That iTax thing, even some of the accountants that we give, they are not able even to remit, our returns. Why can't you simplify it? When you tell Mama Mboga that to have an email, open a Gmail to be able to access to, to their returns. It doesn't work. So we simplify to the simplest forms. As we are doing that, also partner, and we are there because you have partnered with KRA to do that. Disseminate information. Let people come out and say, we want to pay taxes. Let me give an example of the people who import and they are part of us. They are saying, as we are importing, can we also have tax policies which are predictable? Because if, for example, I order something from China or I order something from Dubai, the tax which I paid today is not the tax which KRA is telling me to pay. When I paid it last month, but my consignment this month, they have hiked, it has gone up. Can we have a way that you are taxing us to a point whereby I can be able to predict my tax, I can be able to predict my overheads, I can be able to predict even my profits, so that you can have a conducive environment of doing business.
All right.
Yes.
Okay, let's see what else you're saying here. Kivuva says, I think Karanja is getting it wrong. When you go out there, have the goods inspected for quality. We avoid dumping substandard goods in the country. Karanja's alliance should be in the forefront in teaching about compliance to standards to his members, counterfeiting, etc., which hurts.
I agree. I agree with what he's saying. The goods which were banned, you remember, I said that, I gave that example here. They were banned because we didn't know standardization. We didn't have those standards. That information was not with us. And there's no business person who imports goods to be banned. And that is why we decided to organize ourselves and have a formal way of disseminating that information. We actually even talked with the president, and we said the PVOC is taking even long. And sometimes we had an issue with the PVOC, the pre-verification certificate. From the country of source, from where we are getting the goods, we could be given a PVOC. But when our goods come to Mombasa, that PVOC is revoked by KEBS. It happened. And PVOC is a document of Kenya Bureau of Standard. They have given agency to Cotecna and the rest of those companies to act on their behalf from the country of the source, to look at the standards of the goods, so that as you are coming in the port of entry, they have already passed the mark. But now we had issues with those agencies, because KEBS could nullify their document. And we went to the president and told the president, this thing is not working for us. And so the president introduced that we can have a local COC, certificate of conformity. And actually, even he lowered it from 5%, which was charged by KEBS, to 0.06, which is a huge, huge input by the government towards that. So now, if you look at even the market today, counterfeit goods are not coming in the way they used to come. We have been able to manage the standardization of goods which are coming in. How many raids have you had in the last even 6 or 7 months? You have not heard of those raids. Why? Because from where we sit, we have been able to tell our members, look here, these are the standards of the electronics you're supposed to bring in. These are the standards of the mobile phone accessories you're supposed to bring in. These are the standards of batteries you're supposed to bring in. If you don't pass, for example, from the source, if this does not pass, our consolidators from the source from China, they don't pack your goods.
It's simple as that.
As simple as that.
Let me ask again, Trevor. This is where I say, if you're able to import, you're telling me you're unable to go to the website of KEBS? Finally, Karanja has a good sentiment for government. The president reducing their certificate of conformity, 5% to 0.6%. Grateful.
Yes.
KEBS has been one of the greatest trade facilitators. Again, I would say challenges may abound, but I think KEBS, under the circumstances, has tried its best. Yes, there were times when we had cancellations of, PVOC.
PVOC, yes.
And it's only right that when you realize that there is monkey business, or that some things don't meet the required standards, or that they have been passed by whatever fault, maybe by design or default, it doesn't stop you from changing your mind just because you gave a certificate. All right? And they did an audit of their processes, and I think that is not the obtaining situation at the moment. But let us not forget that KEBS has also been a great enabler for MSMEs. The micro, small, and medium enterprises had even problems paying for standardization. It used to be so exorbitant to pay for just one standardization mark. Today, rather than paying those exorbitant tens of thousands for one standardization mark every year, you pay 11,000 shillings for 3 standardization marks for 2 years. All right? That's called enabling you know, ease of doing business, creating an enabling environment for our MSMEs. So as we, you know, beat the government for being bureaucratic, let's look down at what Kirdi, for example, is doing. We are coming up with a huge complex, invested in several machineries, so that the person who has groundnuts in the village can take his groundnuts to the Kirdi branch in Bungoma. And when you take it there, you will find a researcher. Tell him, I want to do peanut butter. They will take you through how to make peanut butter that meets the standards for KEBS. They will then invite KEBS, after they've taken you through that, to do their tests and confirm that this meets their standards. And you know, once you have the KEBS standardization or the standardization mark in Kenya, you can sell in East Africa. The Africa Continental Free Trade Area is here. And I have, for example, challenged there's a huge team working on it, on how to ensure that MSMEs become beneficiaries of the Africa Continental Free Trade Area. What are the unique things we will do to give the MSMEs a platform for engaging alongside the big boys like Dangote, you know, as we expand the market in Africa for everyone to get their raw materials and to also supply, all right? So the government continues to do the KEPROBA, Kenya Promotion and Branding Agency, is daily trying to come down with what are the markets that exist for the things that we produce, alternative markets to ensure that we have some money. And we work together alongside all these other branches. When Dr. Kiru was speaking, she was looking at me and saying, government should reduce taxes. And of course, I pray I am government one day, but I am government for today, gratefully. And whereas it is the function of the Kenya Revenue Authority, domiciled in the Ministry of Finance and Planning, but I sit here on behalf of the government, I can tell you, because we work very closely with KRA, that the sentiments made by you are sentiments that have been made in other quarters. And each and every day, all we seek to do is to ensure that we have the balance. How do we survive as a country without entirely killing businesses in the country? So taxation, there are points when there are issues around taxation, but I don't think it's entirely ignored. As I told you, there are people who just admire our models of taxation because there are countries that are taxed to death. We don't want to head there. There may be challenges, but I'm also very open to listen to what are the solutions. Okay. This is a professor, a doctor of economics. So David, we have a challenge of tax. The government should address it. We can't tax our people to death. Good. Answer what our friend, I have a good friend called, a good friend who says, so what? Answer the so what question. What do we do collectively as the private sector, as the academic sector, all right, the scholars, as government? What do we do together to improve our situation and create that balance that doesn't grind us to a halt, where hospitals are not equipped with medicine, the laboratories are not working, schools are not funded, yet we also need businesses to thrive? Yeah.
Okay, good. I went to school, that is my PhD, in a country whereby people pay taxes of up to 55%.
Great.
In that country, if I was sick and I called 9911, even before I prepared the sick person, the paramedics are there. My child or I will be taken to an hospital where everybody goes. There are no hospitals for the rich, there are no hospitals for the poor, and nobody will ask me for any single coin because my health insurance is there and it works for me all the time.
Sure.
In that country, because I was a student, I had a student pass and I could travel all around the entire city. If I study in Nairobi, be able to use public transportation. That really works and it is very precise. It comes on time. And that now in your country where you want to compare your taxation with that country,
in your country,
how? Let's not even go. You've gotten my point. So let me not.
In my country, we are trying to make business work. We are remodeling the Nairobi Metropolitan Service, is remodeling our transport sector in the city.
So let me not. I think that point has reached.
Yeah.
Show Kenyans what you are doing with your taxes. we have no problems paying taxes.
Perfect. Well said.
But I'll not pay taxes and keep funding the same things that you're supposed to fund with my taxes. And then also tell me that even where I shop, I mean, Kenyans, you can tell are rich Kenyans because they shop in Naivas or they shop in the Kadogo economy. That is nonsense. Yes, so let's not go there. So that point is there. Another thing that I wanted to bring up before we finish this show, and Kenyans will not be very happy with us, if we don't talk about crime, violence, and if we talk about crime, we're talking about even cyber crime as some of the things that really affect businesses. If we're talking about cyber, we're talking about even the idea of this money and conmanship. These things, and also political uncertainty. 2022 is coming, and many Kenyans are asking, should I hold on and invest after the elections? Is my business safe? Should I be expanding? Should I be downsizing? Should I, those things also affect businesses in Kenya, and they need to be flanked out. And when you talk about Kizungu Mingi, we are talking about literally, Kizungu Mingi, it's about complicated and understood ways of doing businesses. And that is why now people talk about when KPLC is having monkey businesses in terms of power and things like that. For example, I'll tell you for free, and as we speak now, and let Kenyans know what KPLC is doing. KPLC have stopped going to read meters, and that is very strategic. So every time they send you a very small bill per month, they even send you a zero bill. There is evidence, there is proof all over. But it's not because of anything, just a strategy of getting you ready and training you to pay a bribe or for corruption. Because one day they'll come and hit you with a bill of 60,000. And the thing is, if they don't do that, they are also increasing your rate of paying that electricity. So one time you're hit with a big bill of 60,000 and they threaten you to disconnect. Then there will be now opportunities to, let me talk to KPLC, let me talk to KRA, because there's Kizungu Mingi in there, it's complicated, it's not understood. Let me talk to KPLC, let me talk to whatever. And then now conmanship comes in. This conmanship is by design, and it's mostly in these public parastatals. It's a shame that we still have electricity issues. How do you become a monopoly in a country where everybody needs and wants what you're selling, and you are becoming a risk issues in terms of government operation and fiscal policies? It is nonsense. Really, you have to treat Kenyans as serious as we are.
Nonsense is the best word for Daktari. Let me say that, Daktari, I hope that you recognize that developing more than 10,000 kilometers of roads over a couple of 5 years does not fall from the sky. It falls from revenue and a bit of borrowing. I bet you understand that running the economy and keeping our hospitals to the dispensary levels in the village running may not be like Canada where you went to school, but that is taxes being returned to their people. Yes, there has been admission up to, and by the president as well, that there's been pilferage in one way or the other, and there has been a multi-agency team attempting to address that. You have seen in news yesterday, one of the procurement officers for one of the state agencies has been clamped down with so much money. We may not achieve the level of efficiency of Canada just yet, but I bet we are on our way there. Are there challenges? Admittedly, yes. Are they being addressed? I bet they are. And whereas we have all these issues, you brought Kenya Power, the costs have gone high. I told you that the Parliamentary Investment Committee is trying to look at the drivers of this because of these other private companies that had an agreement with Kenya Power around it. I may not be the right authority to speak about it, but because I'm on this seat, appointed by the president, I will take it for them. I'm part of government. I will take the blame for it, even though it doesn't fall within my purview. These challenges are there. Has there been an honest attempt at addressing them? I can guarantee you there has been, there is, and it is ongoing. We are hoping to get to reduce the power prices. Of course, there are special economic zones that we have that will have different rules, and export processing zones, which we also try to teach our SMEs to look at and get involved in. Until then, I want us to appreciate that the taxes are not taken from the country and poured into the drain. There wouldn't be last mile connectivity to most parts that have never known electricity if it were not for our taxes. The Lamu port, which is going to be a game changer for this economy for the foreseeable future, being the biggest port in Africa, would not have happened. And that was built without a single external money. That was built by our own money, as explained by Dr. Francis Mudaura. These are things that the government has done. The government is not perfect. I'm not going to sit here and say we are perfect. There has been and continue to be holes that need to be plugged in. Some have been plugged in successfully. Some are still challenging. But in the whole, I think we have made progress.
Okay, let's see what else you're saying on Twitter. Njenga Wakungu says, what's the rationale behind having 20% of loans costs? Is this really empowering our SMEs, or shrewd way to ensure SMEs are dead? SME sector absorbs the highest number of poor Kenyans, and it should be even zero rated. Cottage industries will not realize with the current tax regime. This is what we're also talking about. Is this also shooting ourselves in the foot when the loans are being taxed at 20%, and it's also on the dailies here?
Yes, it is. It is. And there's something Dr. Ria said, and Waziri is attempting to answer that question. You see, Kenya is very corrupt, and the president accepted that, and he said 2 billion shillings is going down the drain daily. If you're able to close these corruption holes, we are talking about efficiency, and that's what Dr. is saying about efficiency. Sure. Just efficiency. Sure. If I pay my taxes, do I get value for what I'm paying for?
Yeah.
Simple.
It is that simple.
It's that simple.
Yeah.
If I don't get value, then I'm shortchanged in one way or the other. When it talks about 20% of loans, we are talking about, right now we are not talking about cushioning SMEs, we are talking about resuscitating.
Yeah.
Because some of the SMEs are dead. The other day we had I think we had a show with you, Trevor, and we talked about people in downtown, they have closed shop. Yeah. There are people who have gone home, gone back to their native land. Why? Because they can't be able even to sustain the maisha in Nairobi. They can't be able to do that. So we are talking about resuscitation. Resuscitation means that you are giving incentives. Lower the percentages. Make sure that you are able to even come up with formulas which you can be able to know who is where and who needs what. Yeah. You remember the other day we have the fintech has come handy, but I say the fintech, a good number of the fintech are Shylocks. Yeah. Because the amount of interest rates that they charge, they are crazy. But Kenyans have to absorb and they have to go there. Why? Because I'm getting 2,000 shillings at a 300% interest rate. But what do? I want to buy Dakununuizo on Jugu. Yeah. I pack them and I sell them along the streets. Yeah. I want to go and buy mboga and sell. So with that kind of approach, fintech, they have made billions of shillings in a very short time. Why? Because they saw, when they did their gap analysis, they saw the financial institutions are not being able to come in handy. They came in between, but they are Shylocks. They are killing small, medium entrepreneurs. But that's how we have been able to survive all through. Yeah. Now, when government comes to regulate the fintechs, they are coming also, they are getting into direct level. Yeah, they are coming to affect our lives directly. Why? Because that's where we have been surviving. Yeah. If you come in and tax the fintechs and you bring regulations, which we want them to bring the regulation, what other better options are they bringing on the table? Okay. So when you're looking at policy, some of those things which have been discussed in terms of financing and resuscitating small, medium entrepreneurs, Waziri has talked about the 3 billion shillings. We must fill the 3 billion shillings. You remember we talked even about the 3.6 trillion. There was a 2%, there was a 2 billion shillings which was added to the 10 billion which was given to small, medium entrepreneurs. These 10 billion shillings, did we feel the effect of it? Where did it go? What informed the government to add the 2 billion? Yeah. Because you had the 2 billion because you had a success with the 10 billion. And this 10 billion was able to achieve this to small, medium entrepreneurs to remain them afloat. Do they remain afloat? Are they doing business they're supposed to do? Then we are going to add 2 billion shillings. What informs the 2 billion shillings? And what KPIs have you put? Yeah. So that you can be able to see this 12 billion shillings in this time is going to take small, medium entrepreneurs from where they are to the next level. Lastly, when you're talking about micro, small, medium entrepreneurs, those people who go to China, they're in the medium. Yeah. They're not in the micro and small. A person who goes to China can be able to access to the mobile phone. But I can tell you for sure, very few people are able to buy data today, as much as you are huge consumers of data. The huge consumers of data are in the small and the medium, but the micro, ni kabambe. So let's go also, and the micro, that's where the majority are. If we can be able to reduce the cost of communication, the cost of data. You are going now to bring the micro to the small and the small to the medium.
Okay. Let's see what else you're saying here. Gib Nabson says, great debate. MSMEs is the way to go. Let CAS set up contacts at local market centers so that information is shared. This is part of what you're talking about, right?
Information sharing. Now, here's been the challenge. You know, the trade and industry functions were devolved. It means we have to then rely on counties and their determination to be able to get information, to be able to feed into data from which Daktari can borrow and make deductions and then propositions of moving the country forward. We have been trying to bridge this. The ministry created, for example, the trade portal. The trade portal is a place where we have an agreement with counties to deposit information, and we also deposit this information, then we share it. Most counties have not been able to do that. I remember visiting the Lake Region Economic Bloc with the 13 trade county executive committee members and trying to compel them, request them to ramp up their efforts in getting information because it informs policy, policy making and policy direction. That has been a challenge. So that's the gap that exists, that the functions are devolved. And when they are devolved, then the national government may have a very limited capability to come all the way down, because the funds that we had for trade officers across the country were now given to counties, which means our trade officers, that would be our local contacts, are not there. However, the ministry has a contact center that can be contacted from time to time.
Okay. All right. Let's see what else you're saying. Engineer Lazaro says punitive taxation is killing our dreams of venturing into entrepreneurship. High electricity bills, double taxation of raw materials, and unreliable rent price are raising cost of doing business and scaring investors. Okay, we talked about this. J.M. Musoma says MSMEs need tax exemptions and free registration. Most SMEs are not registered and thus cannot be facilitated because they are not on the government records. Most of them are run by youth and operate incognito. That's caused to evade heavy taxation. That's why BBI is a priority. Jacob Abere says that as it stands, majority of MSMEs are in the deathbed. Serikali and financial institutions haven't come up with innovative policies to rescue them, more so in tax and loan repayment. We have seen auctioneers taking away TVs and tables. All right.
The challenge of not being able to meet some of these, loans is not a challenge of MSMEs alone. Yeah. Of course, it's heavier on them, but it's a challenge also for the big companies. It's a challenge that's not unique to us again. Yeah. It's a challenge that's cross-cutting globally, and for which we are attempting to seek solution. For example, the Micro Small Enterprise Authority, hopefully in this coming year, will be able to have funding for resuscitating some of these MSMEs, but again, which speaks to formalization. Yeah. Okay, because if you're non-existent and we don't know who you are, you're not going to say, I am David, I've been running this successful business. Give me 200,000 today. I just want to go back and restart. Yeah. And we will ask, prove to us you've been in business. Yeah. Now, if there is no formalization, there's not going to be easy proof of having been in business, and therefore you may end up missing out on, those opportunities for support. But I get it. This has been a challenging time for our economy and globally as well. All right. And we hope we get past it.
Yeah, like to give you guys a chance. Yeah, go ahead.
Shortly. There's a strategy that the Ministry of Trade had, I think it was 2007, and I was a beneficiary of that. They came and told us that they are giving, actually it was on the media, that they're giving money to small medium entrepreneurs. Yeah. I was not structured in terms of a limited company, no. I had a business name. So I took myself to Nyayo House then, and we sat down about 200 youths. And we were given, I think, 70,000 shillings, which we were paying about 3% per annum. I started, my small business from that point. Yeah.
But you are registered?
I had a business name.
Yeah.
Okay. I didn't have the limited.
Some semblance of formalization.
Yeah. So now, if you tell the youth, it's a strategy. If you tell the youth that you are going to give you money, and come to, like for example, Waziri has said it's devolved. Now you're talking about counties now. If you tell the youth that let's meet at this point, we are going to give money based on what you have. That's one point of registration. Because the youth are going to come out, whether you are registered or not, everybody needs money to start a business. So when you are there, you can now tell them, start with the basics, a business name.
Yeah.
Not a limited company, a business name. So you start formalizing the informal sector at that juncture. Then tell them, I'm going to take you through training. After you formalize, I'm going to take you through training for 2 or 3 weeks. What is that? You are testing the seriousness of those people. If you can come for 3 weeks, you need 50,000 shillings. Then come up with a business plan. Let's sit down with experts. How that business plan can be able to work for you. It's hard work, and that's why many times it's hard. If the government does, even if the devolved does not want to go through that road. Yeah. But it is one way that you can be able to help small medium entrepreneurs.
But I wonder whether that should be the government or that should be the MSME Alliance.
You see, as MSME Alliance, we do our bit. We are business people. The reason why actually we do what we do, we are the voice of small medium entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
Voice. Ours is advocacy, period. When it comes now to any other partnership, we sit down with the government and say, okay, there's something that we can be able to do.
Yeah.
When we started, we saw that, okay, advocacy is not enough. What do we do then? The people who are coming here, they need money. We decided, okay, let's have a circle then. We started a circle, the MSME Biashara circle. Then that circle, we are saying, okay, where are we going to get the money? Because the SME Alliance of Kenya is an NGO. It's a company limited by guarantee, non-profit. Yeah. So we decided, and this is to the goodwill of traders. Actually, they are traders who give their money so that we can be able to start this entity. Then you go and you say, okay, let's approach banks. We approached banks, and one of the first one-tier bank, they said, because of your structures and systems, you are going to give money to SMEs. We are playing our role. We said, okay, how much? We are resuscitating. Let's give 12%, and 12 times. They said, no, let's start with 5, 6 times. Then we move to the next level. Yeah. Then we said, okay, there are also people who are bringing cargo consolidated cargo from China and Dubai. And taxes are expensive, and consolidators are ripping them off. So what do? Let's start Mark Global Freights. Small medium entrepreneurs. It's not one individual's company. Small medium entrepreneurs. So in our small bit, we are doing that. And where we can even come in, we are going to come in and be able to complement what the government is doing. Okay. Right now, we are going to launch the MSME Biashara Circle. A bank plus other partners that we have. They have given about 500 million shillings. Why? We want to resuscitate. These are the strategic partners I'm telling Waziri about, and also Dr. is saying that let our synergy as a government, private sector, and the academia come together, because this is our country, this is our economy. Okay. If the country goes down, we go down. Okay,
I'll give you a minute each for closing remarks, and Dr. Kiru, I'll start with you. Where do we go from here? What are the solutions now?
What's most important is really fixing the economy so that those who can find work and can work, and those who want to be real entrepreneurs go into that, and there are clear pathways into formalization and success in entrepreneurship. And what do we need? We need integrity in public service. It's costing us 2 billion a day. Number one, we need to fix that. And secondly, we need a judiciary that works. And thirdly, that judiciary should be supported by an independent, with a high integrity members of parliament. That is a legislative arm, need to support the judiciary that works and fix integrity issues in public service, and Kenya will be good to go.
All right. Karanja?
I was just thinking what you told me, that's our work, and I said, and I just thought, oh, I could have answered you and told you. It's MCA's work. It's not our work. Okay. Our work as a private sector is to help our members. So MCA is a government authority through an act of parliament. They are sitting down in that office. They're supposed to be on the ground. They're supposed to be collecting data of small medium entrepreneurs. I've given them a strategy. They should pay me. Now, having said that, my parting shot is this. Government has a lot to offer. The private sector has a lot to offer. The academia has a lot to offer. Let's have that seamless synergy. Let the government not complicate processes. Even when you're coming in as private sector, let them not complicate processes. Simplify the process. and this is going to be fluid and people are going to plug in. When I'm coming to help the government, I'm not coming in to look for tenders or even to get money from the government. I'm coming in because I'm patriotic enough to know that if small medium entrepreneurs go down the drain, I go down the drain with them because I'm part of them. And so make sure that the processes, the policies that you're making those policies with the MSME and the economy at heart, and we are ready to partner with the government and any other agencies.
All right, Waziri.
Thank you very much, Trev, for having me, and for my brother Karanja and Dr. Kiru for this wonderful engagement. Dr. Kiru has pointed out to integrity, and I have said this from before my appointment, that integrity starts in the floors of our houses. It's not government coming with a big stick. It's about teaching our children that it's good to live a life of integrity. I don't want to leave this place until I have told the MSMEs that it is important for them. Those who are listening to me, at least, hear me out. If you are an MSME, a micro, small, or medium enterprise that needs advice, please visit our Kenya Institute of Business Training in Parklands, Kibet. Visit lecturers who are there, positioned to support SMEs to grow. If you're a young producer who thinks you have this beautiful perfume you want to produce, or you have this soap that you want to produce, take your time and visit our Kirdi offices across the country, from Nairobi South Sea to Kisumu on Kibos Road, the one in Eldoret, in Bungoma, Mombasa. Go. Find out how you can be assisted in that place. If you are an existing business that is in need of a shot in the arm to help you move forward, please visit our Kenya Industrial Estates offices. They are, in fact, KIE is one of the offices, the organizations that has very many branches nationwide, more than most of these. Go and have a conversation with them. Let them know you need assistance. If you are a businessman, in an attempt to simplify our processes, we have created the 4 Biashara centers. If you're within reach in Nairobi, go to Kariobangi's MSEA office, where the Biashara center is domiciled. Ask them, I have meant to do this, but it's not working. Are you able to assist me? Now, these offices are there to help us help each one of us, all right? And the government has a mandate to ensure that we help facilitate trade, promote trade, boost the local industry, grow it as much as best can, working alongside other agencies. So it is not entirely up to us. You have raised issues of power. That brings the Ministry of Energy to the table. You raise issues of tax, all right? So we are a facilitator working in conjunction with all these. Are these suggestions, the great suggestions, going to go to waste? Absolutely not. They are not, because I was noting down some of the things that I think could add value. I must admit that there are points where I think Daktari and Karanja have added value to my knowledge and the possibility of growth. And I hope that they have also learned it's not bureaucracy and that something tangible is happening, as Dr. Kiru was alleging, so that we work together. The academia lends itself to the cause of patriotism and growth of the country and building our nation. And so does the private sector. I mean, all of us make a formidable team. I guarantee you, the president is committed to manufacturing particularly, which is the heartbeat. As I speak, cottage industry and manufacturing, draw it down to the bottom level, because it's one of the big 4 agenda, the legacy agendas of the president. And that cannot be spoken about in a silo, away from power and taxation and all these things. And so I know he takes note. The SME advisory unit in his office, he has an SME advisory unit, which is headed by an excellent team. And they are watching this show today. Why? Because they also need to borrow from us and feed into their knowledge. No one is a tower of all knowledge. And finally, the Ministry of Industrialization is privileged to be headed by one of the most stellar persons. Betty Maina was the CEO of Kenya Association of Manufacturers. And I guarantee you she has attempted to utilize her 11 years in that sector to try and mainstream. But thanks to Karanja for helping us in the journey towards formalization.
Yep.
Thanks, Dr. Kiru, and thanks, Trevor, for having me. I look forward to this engagement some other time.
All right, thank you so much, Honorable David Osian, CAS Minister of Industrialization, Trade and Enterprise Development, Dr. Joy Kiru, Senior Economics Lecturer at the University of Nairobi, and Samuel Karanja, CEO, MSME Alliance. Thank you so much for making time. I'm sure we'll have this conversation again as we seek to resuscitate the MSMEs, like you say. It's not cushioning anymore, it's resuscitation. Okay. All right. Taking a quick break now. When we come back, it's time to work out with Willis Raburu Bazu. See you in a bit.